Hi, friends. Keith Main here, owner and editor of DisneyAvenue.com. And as many of you have heard by now, the late Disney legend and extraordinary man, in my opinion, the late Marty Sklar, has passed away. And I just wanted to, I guess, sit down and kind of reflect my experience with Marty. Being the gigantic Disney fan that I am, like many of you, growing up, I can remember before really the internet was really big, but I can remember searching online. I wanted to know any and everything that I could about Walt Disney, about the men and women who helped make places like Disneyland a reality. Um, and a name that always stuck out to me was Marty Sklar. And to me, he was the the Walt Disney of my generation. He was and many of I think Imagineers will tell you that Marty Sklar was the torchbearer um, after Walt passed. And as a kid, Marty as a kid, pretty much, beginning his career at Disneyland at 21, a month before Disneyland opened, and being tasked by Walt Disney to come up with a newspaper that they could give out to guests on Main Street at 21 years old is, really something special. And Walt saw something special in him. And, back then in those days when I would look online and see Marty's picture when I was a kid, I never would have dreamed that I would have had the opportunity to actually speak to him and ask him things about his career that I always wanted to know. And I finally got that opportunity a few years back. And as many of I'm trying to think how I could portray this to you. Marty loved the Walt Disney Company. He loved his career. He loved Walt Disney. He loved the people he worked with, like John Hinch. Always talked about him. Always talked about him. He loved Herb Ryman and actually had a lot of involvement in the Herb Ryman Foundation. And he also loved the fans. If you're a DVC member, you probably get that DVC. I think it's called a Disney Insider magazine a few times a year. And Marty does an article in each one of those issues. And at the top of the article, the top of the page, they'll have a picture of Marty, his name, and right under that would be his email address. And to me, that really struck me because you don't see that, you don't see everyone giving out their email address, especially to something as widely distributed as a magazine distributed by the Disney Company. And he put his email address out there to allow people to connect with him. He loved to talk Disney. He loved to talk about the people he worked with. And and he was just a classy man. He really was. Always well dressed, always well spoken. Never, at least in my experience, never had anything negative to say about anyone. He was just a classy guy and classy act. And I just felt, this wasn't planned. I just felt like I needed to just kind of share with you my experiences with him. And as many of you know, I do the Disney Avenue podcast, which we haven't done an episode in quite some time, unfortunately, because it's just so time consuming. But I remember when I first started that, and I was so amateur, I didn't know what I was doing. But I knew I wanted to do it, and I knew I loved it, just like DisneyAvenue.com. It's just a passion project, and I'm just blown away how it's grown over these years. But and I'm not real big about getting on camera. No, I know there's other people in the Disney fan community and bloggers that do that very well. I like to be behind camera, but I felt like it was necessary for me to do this. I just felt like I wanted to do this because he was so special to me. And so for that first episode, I think it was the third show I did, and I wanted to do Marty Sklar. So I went online and I began researching ways, his name, and I found some kind of way that I was able to get a listing of names in California, and I narrowed it down to his age, got a number, and so it took me a couple of days to work up enough courage to give Marty a call at his home. And who knows? I mean, here I am, this nobody out of the blue, calling someone at their home, to invite him on a show he's never heard of, to speak with a guy he's never heard of. And I checked before I recorded this, and I'm so glad I kept it, and I'm going to play it for you in a minute. I still have that recording of the very first time I called his home. And I believe his wife answered, which I don't think that part's on there, but you'll hear when he picks up. And I think his wife, Leah, answered, and I said, hey, this is, Keith Main with the Disney Avenue podcast. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, can I speak to Marty, please? And she said, hold on one second. And Marty picked up the phone. It was the first time I ever heard his voice live, But he was just so kind. I mean, and you'll hear it. He's like, okay, well, let's set this up. And I was blown away. He was such a classy man. And last night when I heard the news that he passed, unfortunately, I was blown away because I just literally emailed him I wanted to know where all the models were, all the concept models used for attractions throughout the years. Where were those models? And I've heard that they been destroyed. Alice Davis told me that they had been destroyed, but I was trying to, reach him and see if he could confirm that. And he said he would be happy to look into it. And that was the very last time that, we interacted. And Marty was just a great guy. And I just wanted to just say that, how much he meant to me. I know how much he meant to so many of you, and to the Walt Disney Company, and to the parks and resorts that we all, cherish today. And so I just want to play for you, like in this video, that conversation of me calling Marty and asking him for the first time to be a guest on the Disney Avenue podcast. And I hope you enjoy it. And I want you to just know how great of a man Marty Sklar was, how much he will be missed. And Marty, Godspeed, and be sure to say hello to Walt for me. Thank you.
Hello?
Hey, Marty.
Yes?
Hi, this is Keith Michael May. I'm the owner-producer of the Disney Avenue podcast.
Of the what?
The Disney Avenue podcast.
Okay.
I was calling you today to see about maybe having you a guest on the show. I actually just wrapped up one with Jack Lindquist, who had nothing but wonderful things to say about you, and so I figured I'd give you a call and see if maybe you'd be interested.
I'm sorry, what's the project?
It's the show is it's a podcast. It's kind of like a monthly radio show over the internet. We deal with MiceChat.com, DisneyAvenue.com, and basically what we do is we speak with, top Imagineers, other popular figures in the Disney Corporation for the fans to listen to. The show usually takes about an hour. We go over kind of like your career, your opinions on things working with Walt and so forth.
Okay. When would you like to do this, Keith?
Whatever's convenient for you. I'm not sure if you want to give me your email address, and I can send you a little bit of information, and we could maybe schedule something.
Sure. Why don't you do that? It's
okay.
My email is all lowercase, Marty at martysklarcreative.com, all run together.
So that's Marty at martysklarcreative.com.
You got it.
Thank you so much, Marty, and I'll be in touch with you soon.
Okay, great.
Take care. Thank you.